All right, Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praises to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, Bashem Rachad Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of GMS who rule well, and also honor and salutations to those of you who are of the hopeful elect and are out there teaching the word of sincerity and truth. All right, so I, I wasn't gonna do something on this, but I couldn't get it out of my mind. So I just said, you know what, let me go ahead and do it. Um, I typically don't like these kinds of arguments where you say, well, white people been doing it for years, so it's only right if we get a chance to do it too. How you like them apples? Kind of arguments. I personally don't like them kind of arguments because I feel like at the end of the day, the Heavenly Father is gonna make it right. He's gonna set everything right. He's gonna avenge us for whatever was done to us and however it was done to us in many ways, right? But I wanted to talk about this thing that's in I guess popular culture, pop culture, where this young lady, Halle Bailey, I think her name is a so-called black woman who is going to play the role of Ariel from the Disney movie, The Little Mermaid. So I hope I'm not the only one that knows about the movie. I grew up with a lot of girls, so I saw all kinds of shit like this. And if you know, she's traditionally played as a so-called white girl with red hair, and and people are pretty upset about it, especially Esau, and that's really what I wanted to talk about was you know the so-called white people. I think it's important to say that so-called. We always say that, but so-called white people. If you look around uh, in the world today, they are losing, man. They are losing in a big way. Esau is, and they're trying to hold on to their last bit of um, what their life has been since America's been established. You know, though I hate the term white privilege, they're trying to hold on to their last bit of it. And this is just another example of you know how white people are behaving because they're losing you know their place in society. Like, you look at magazine covers over the, I mean, I'll say 3 decades. I've only been alive for 3 decades, 3.5 decades. You look at movies, especially in Disney, right? Um, uh, Television shows. So-called black people haven't been portrayed in a very good light. And it's an example, though a small one, though a very childish one. It's an example of how you know Esau is losing. So I got the picture up, a depiction of Yahushua, and it's a Russian biblical icon, right? As you can see here, right? And the reason why I pulled this up, and like again, like I said, like I typically don't like to make these type of arguments, but I will for the sake of the show. Um, I put this picture up, right, because if you want to talk about so-called, and I put it in quotation marks, cultural appropriation, this is the first thing you should talk about, because really the Ariel thing doesn't move me. Disney movies and shit like that doesn't move me, but this does. This moves me because this image being painted improperly. did a number on not only uh, our people, but so-called white people too, because now it's come all of this information is coming out that the Lord was a so-called black man, and just overall so-called black people, right, are winning. We're just winning, and it's all through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. We always, oh shit, what the hell done happened? We always make the point. Salakia, let me close that. We always make the point that, as Esau and his kingdom diminishes and comes down, that it's only right that our nation and kingdom is risen up. They go hand in hand. The 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 decline of Esau and the incline of Israel are equal. They're hand in hand, right? And it's only right that these little things happen. And I'll say this, before I continue on, that you so-called white people have some nerve to complain about a goddamn made-up character being portrayed as a black girl, a so-called black girl. You got some nerve. They had a movie. Matter of fact, I forgot about this. Let me do this. They had a movie called Gods of Egypt. Okay, right. And if you look at the cast, right, we'll just look at the poster for the movie. Look at this cast. This is called Gods of Egypt, right? Now, even though the Egyptians are Hamites, right, and they're not of our nation, they were still so-called black people that were those gods were depicted by, right? But look at the cast, all so-called white people, right? And nobody was mad about this. No, nobody was upset when this happened, right? When they had movies. Matter of fact, I'll pull up another one. Let's see. This is the movie Ten Commandments, and Charlton Heston played Moses, right? Nobody was upset about this. Oh, that's a bad picture. Got the stones in it. Not. I mean, just the stones are bad, not this dude. But no one was up in arms about this when they did this movie, right? Look at him depicted as a so-called white man, right? Now I've never seen this movie. To speak honestly, I've never seen this movie. But what I do know, or what I do have the question is, did they how do I say it? Did they illustrate the scene of Moses putting his hand in his bosom and taking it out, and it was white as snow, and then putting it back and it was his other color? Matter of fact, I should watch this movie. I'm gonna try to find this movie just to see if they had that scene in there. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say they did not, right? But it'd be interesting to see, right? Because the scriptures, all through the scriptures, talk about how. Matter of fact, let's go to that. Let me see. Come on now. Let's go to that, right? Because the script, all through the script. Oh fuck, what's going on? This computer's doing its own thing today. Salaki, bear with me just 1 second. Moses. No, let me do it like this. Hand bosom. I think I'm spelling that right. Is it two S's? Nope. Boom. Boom. Check that out. Let's go in here real quick. This is Exodus 4, and I'll start at 5. It says that they. Oh, let me see. Okay. Boom. Yeah, I'll start at 6. It says this, and the Lord said furthermore unto him, put now thine hand into thy bosom, right? We all know what that is. Matter of fact, just in case you don't, chayak, right? Bosom, bottom, lap, midst, within, variant, hollow, bottom, miss. Let's see. So your bosom is basically your like your chest, right? Your bosom. Like when it says that John was laying on the bosom of the Lord, it's basically your chest. Like if you're sometimes you laying in the bed, your wife laying in your bosom. So that's what your bosom is, right? So he probably had a little opening in his garment. If it was like a piece that closed in the middle, probably put his hand inside, or maybe just put his hand up against his chest. But I'm sure he put it underneath his garment, and it took it out, and it was what? Let's see. And he put his hand into his bosom, and when he took it out, behold, his hand was leprous as snow. Right. So we know what color snow is. That's not a mystery, right? You know when you think of snow, what color you're talking about. All right. Let's see. It says, and he said, put thine hand into thy bosom again. And he put his hand into his bosom again and plucked it out of his bosom. And behold, it was turned again to his other flesh. So what was his other flesh? Right? So the so-called cultural appropriation started with Esau first, right? Matter of fact, there's more on that. Let's go to Second Maccabees, I think it is. Second Maccabees. Second Maccabees. Oh no, First Maccabees 3, I think. 3 and 48. So Second Maccabees 3 and 48. I think. Yes. It says, and laid open the book of the law, wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images. You see? You see that? So cultural appropriation has been happening for a long time. And really, really, that's what gentrification is. Gentrification is a piece of that, right? There's a piece of cultural appropriation in there, right? And then I've always said this about gentrification, which is basically when um, you take a predominantly black neighborhood or so-called black neighborhood, and however you decide to do. Sometimes you raise the prices. Sometimes you allow the living to get so dilapidated where people have to move, right? And whatever method you use, you force the people that are in that neighborhood out, and then you move so-called white people in, and then you dress the neighborhood at a decoratively, right, where you have better living. You repave the roads. You build new buildings, put new grocery stores, and all different types of things to make it more so-called white friendly, right? And then you raise the prices so that the so-called black people can't come back. And I've always said this about gentrification, which is basically because when you think of ghettos and the projects and like these different neighborhoods, like we talk about here in Boston. There's a neighborhood. So you have Beacon Hill, right? Famous Beacon Hill, where the State House is, right? But on Joy Street, if you travel down Joy Street off of Beacon Street, and when you first enter into Joy Street from Beacon, you go up a hill, right? And the hill is about a block long, and then you go down a hill, which is like maybe 4 or 5 blocks long, going down a hill. And that neighborhood within off the sides of Joy Street, you got Pickney Street, right? Which we don't have to, you know, explain what Pickney means, right? You got Pickney Street, and you got all those different, side roads down in there. That neighborhood used to be called Nigger Hill, because that's where Jake lived. They moved from the North End, right? And when it's uh, uh, uh it depends. It depends on what time you're talking about, but basically Jake was forced out of the North End when a lot of the Italians started moving in, and they moved from the North End into the western, what is considered the West End, right, which is Nigger Hill. And but if you look at that neighborhood now, those apartments are in thousands of dollars a month to live in that neighborhood, and it's a shitty neighborhood, by the way. It's like it's not even a real. It's not a good neighborhood. There's no, this gets no sunlight, right? There's no, I mean, if you're buying it for like a historical reasoning, like it still looks like it may have looked back in the, the early 1700s, the cobblestone roads and all of that. But I say that, right, because the neighborhood was gentrified, where now there's all white people, and when you go in that neighborhood walking their dogs, and they look at you funny for being in that neighborhood, when there was a time where I could have only lived in that neighborhood, right? So to me, in my opinion, that gentrification is the same thing, because they say like, okay, we're gonna put these so-called black people in these bad neighborhoods, in these horrible neighborhoods. And what happens is they see these so-called black people in these neighborhoods uh, still making a way, still, finding joy and happiness, even though they're in this horrible rundown place. They find happiness in it. And Esau looks at it and goes, hold on, we should live over there. And then they move Jake out, and then they move their ass in there. And that's a piece of cultural appropriation, taking the images of of the scriptures, the men in the scriptures. When you talk about Moses, you talk about Aaron, you talk about the Lord Yahushua, of course, the Most High Himself. They have made themselves into these characters, and they've done it forever. So for them to be mad about a Disney movie that people are probably not even going to watch, because out of the series of, they're doing all these live action things, right? Um, People probably this movie is not going to be as big as it was as a Disney animation, right? I think it's fair to say. And now that the so-called black girls playing, it's probably going to make even less money. But the point I'm making is, it's not a big deal. It's not a, it's Ariel's a made up character, right? But when you talk about the Lord Yahushua, when you talk about Moses, when you talk about Aaron, when you talk about the Most High, when you talk about Noah, when you talk about Shem, when you talk about Jacob, right? Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. When you talk about these people and them being depicted as so-called white people, you're taking actual people, actual men that lived in the earth, actual historical figures that lived in the earth, and you said it was you, right? And that's far worse than a goddamn cartoon, man. Right? Um. So let me continue on in the scriptures, because I'm talking. I talked way more than I want to. So let me go to, what is that? Isaiah 25. Isaiah 25. I think it's 25 and 7. It's Isaiah 25 and 7. It says this. It says, and he will, Isaiah 25 and 7, it says, and he will destroy in this mountain the face of the covering cast over all people, and the veil that is spread over all nations, right? And what is that veil? What is that face? That covering that was cast over all the people? It's that Lord Yahushua, man. His face was covered, and we put in, not we, but this picture was put up in its place. Let's watch this. Watch now. Check this out, right? You don't even have to put anything. Just put this word. Oops. Oh, shit. Just put this word, right? This name, and watch what comes up. Boom. Right? Nothing depicted of what he really looked like, right? Look at that. So what holds more weight? Through this image, right? The whole world was conquered through this image. You see, I'm pointing at the damn screen like you can see my finger. Through this image, right? Of course, it's some joke, right? But look at this. Through this image, the whole world was conquered, right? And you could tell this is iconoclasm. These were Jakes, man. Look at these guys over here. And then look at this. You could tell. You could tell. Look at these guys, right? Oh, this is Pilate. Okay, but look, you can't tell me that that wasn't supposed to be Jake, and they did some work to it. You see? Now, I'm gonna tell you something else too. You see how they got these? Look how they got these head coverings, right? That's not a part of our culture. Why did they do that? Right? Why did they put these head covering? That's not a part of Israelite culture for men of the Lord. Which these are more than likely. Actually, you know who this might be? Looking at this picture, the ones in the front here might be the so-called the Pharisees or the priests that were accusing the Lord, right? But this again, even so, this wasn't a part of his Israelite culture that covered a head, all right, especially out in public. I believe, and I always say this, that when there's afros that are hard to uh, deface, if you will, they put these they add to the picture, and this is just an example of that, right? So again, through this picture, right, through this image, look at this guy. The whole world was conquered through this image. So what's worse, a fictional character or a man that really lived, man? Matter of fact, let me go to this. Let me go to what is that? Oops. Job 9:24. It says Job 9:24. It says the earth is given into the hand of the wicked, right? He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? Right? And this is the number. Because look, when you go to all these Russian icons, of which we've been to the Russian Icon Museum here in Clinton, Massachusetts, to be exact, and we actually met the the owner of the museum, who was getting ready to die soon, but you know if he saw us, he would know us. He gave us a tour of the addition before they even built it, right? I mean, which is irrelevant, right? But this is I'm not gonna say the real image. I don't want to say that, but it's a closer depiction to what the Lord Yahweh Shai looked like when he was on the earth, man. Okay, so you got your cultural appropriation, but this happened first, long before there was an Ariel even thought of. Okay, so let me see what else I want to go to. Did I write anything else down in here that I didn't get? I read everything. All right, so with that, I apologize. It took a little longer than I thought it should, but hopefully it was edifying. It was thought provoking. Just one of those things that you can get at Esau with, because Esau is really mad at this thing. They're really mad about Ariel being depicted as a black. Me, I don't give a shit either way. But there's people that are really upset about it. You know, but whatever, man, whatever. We're upset that you took our Lord and Savior and painted him as a white dude. We're upset about that. So there you go. We're even. Fuck you, Esau. All right. So with that, I want to say all praises to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, Bashem Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of GMS who rule well, and honor and salutations to those of you of the hopeful elect. And with that, I say shalom.